What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Mathews, aka B Jizzle.
Hey, and it's your co-host that does it the most, Rick Masters. Hey, guys, we got the white tanks, the white shirts, the pull-up basketball shirts, $25 a pop. We got red and black as well. Ladies, don't be afraid to purchase one. Hit up me, B Jizzle. You can hit me up at Rick Masters 23 or Mr. Lee on Instagram. Rick Masters anywhere else. You can hit up B Jizzle, $25 a pop. Let's go.
Hey, my man said hit us up on social media. Hit me on my Instagram, B Jizzle, BJIZZLE. Hit my Facebook, BJ Mathews. Hit us on all platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Iheartradio, Spotify, TikTok, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Get all our updated videos. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell on the YouTube page. Get all updated content. Let's get it popping. Rick, this debate has ruffled a lot of feathers on the YouTube page, on Instagram, on my Facebook. I took a poll on it, but we talking about the big men on campus. Nikola Jokic versus Joel Embiid, the two best centers in the NBA. We have our beliefs on who we're going to pick. Let's get into it. Let's get deep into it. Who are you picking? And kind of briefly explain your analysis why.
Okay, people, check it out. Everybody who's watching this, everybody who's a fan of the NBA and who loves basketball, please hear me when I say this. Please listen. I am going to pick Joel Embiid over Jokic any day. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to break down with my analysis. Now, guys, okay, if you took both of these players and you erased their names and you put Jokic as player A and you put Embiid as player B, no names. You don't know who these guys are. I'm gonna read player A's stats of this season. What's going on right now? Here's player A right here. Okay, we got player A at 25.9 points, 13.9 rebounds, 7.5 assists. Here's player B, 28.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. Now, I said those stats, so player A, player B. Most of us are going to pick player A. Why? Because we're just looking at the numbers. We're just looking at what we see. It look like they contribute more, so we're going to go with player A, right? That's common sense. A 3-year-old would pick player A. But now let's put names on them. Player A is Jokic, the Joker, and player B is Joel Embiid. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to go with player B, Joel Embiid. Guys, I understand that stats are important. I understand that advanced analytics are very important. But guys, let's not forget that we have these two things right here. It's called eyes, okay? We also have basketball players like me and BJ ourselves and people who actually follow the game and play the game in real life. So as a basketball player, try to get out of the fan position and get into a player position. If you're a teammate to one of these guys, who would you rather play with? Again, this is all your opinion. Okay, I'm not gonna get mad if you go with Jokic or Embiid, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna go with Embiid. If I'm playing basketball, I'm gonna play with Embiid. This is why. I'm playing with Embiid because he makes it easier for me. He makes it easier. And what I mean is Jokic can make it easier in certain against certain teams, against certain systems, against certain players. But overall, no matter who I go up against in the East or West, Embiid is going to make it easier for me to play. And this is why. Because Embiid is a 7-foot train. He is an immovable object. He is literally the modern day Shaquille O'Neal when he played with the Lakers. Now, hear what I said. I'm not saying he is Shaquille O'Neal. I'm saying he is, if I had to make a reference to another player, he's the modern day of today, the Shaquille O'Neal of the league when Shaquille played with the Lakers. And this is what I mean. When Shaquille played with the Lakers, and I could put up a million videos from players themselves telling you, you could not move Shaq. Shaq moved mountains. You could not do anything with Shaq. Matter of fact, the reason why they made the hack a Shaq rule is because, of course, Shaq wasn't good at free throws, but that was the only way that they could find a loophole in the fundamentals of basketball to try to slow him down. But if you tried to go any other route, you could not stop Shaq. And so what is my point when I say that Joel Embiid is the modern day Shaq because you can't stop Joel Embiid. Jokic, I'm sorry to say, guys, as efficient as he is as an assist man, as efficient as he is as a shooter in some spots, as efficient as he is as on that Denver Nugget offensive system, you can stop him. And this is what I mean. There's certain players, even Joel Embiid himself, there's certain players in the league who are not even centers that can get on Jokic's nerves and kind of slow him or kind of rumble his game a little bit. Embiid, only he can stop him. If he's having a bad game, it's because he's having a bad game. But when Joel Embiid is playing his best game, who can stop him? You cannot move an immovable object. That's Joel Embiid. And as a player, if I was a teammate, that makes it easier for me to play because the only way to really stop him is if you quadruple team or put 5 men on him. But you know what that means? I'm wide open for the 3, baby. I'm wide open for that little corner pocket free throw shot. I'm wide open for those little 18-footers, 15-footer shots because everybody's attention is on him like Shaq was with the Lakers. So again, if you look at the paperwork, okay, fine. Player A, you would probably pick. But now when you put the names on those players, tell me, people who play the game, who know the game, would you really pick Jokic or would you pick Embiid? BJ, what's your opinion?
Wow, you hit a lot on the head, bro. So we got a lot more to go. But for me, it's no brainer. It's Joel Embiid. And like you said, people who are on stats will not understand completely, who have never really played basketball. And that's okay. It's easy just to pick up a piece of paper and just say, hey, Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, I'm picking him. But you already know as scouts are not just picking up a piece of paper and say, hey, let me just sign him to a contract. What do? They go to draft combines. They go to workouts. They see these guys scrimmage before they put their time and actually investing their money to sign this player. And not to mention Joel Embiid was drafted in the first round. Nikola Jokic was drafted in the second round. So that just tells you by the eye test who the scouts believed in. That's by the eye test of who was the better player coming in and who's been sustaining this dominance for the last 5 seasons. Joel Embiid has averaged more points, more rebounds than Nikola Jokic. He's had better career stats. He's had more accomplishments. Joel Embiid's had 3-time All-Defensive Player. Nikola Jokic is 0. Joel Embiid has 4 All-Stars. Nikola Jokic has 3. Joel Embiid has 3 All-NBA teams. Nikola Jokic has 3 All-NBA teams. Now, Nikola Jokic did win 2 All-First, and let's give him credit for that. But first team is not too much different from second team. Just take last year, for instance. LeBron James got second all-team. Kawhi Leonard got first all-team. Kawhi Leonard's my favorite player. But we both know, both healthy, those are 2 top 5 players. So 3 All-NBA awards is the same thing as far as accomplishments. And if however you slice it, career-wise, Joel Embiid has had a better career in less time. So that has to factor in to right now because just to say, let's just focus on this year, all you're doing is saying, off of 1 year, that makes him a better player. We know that's not true. You could have a good year out of like 10, 15 seasons and still not be the best player. You have to do that multiple years. It's just not off of 1 year. So we both understand that. So if we go just through the list of the positives and negatives of Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, I mean, just by looking at it, Joel Embiid is the skilled athletic big. Nikola Jokic is the skilled unathletic big. So what do I mean by that? His positives, Nikola Jokic, he can shoot, he can score inside, he's durable. His passing, obviously, his vision is second to none. There's nobody, I don't think, outside of Arvydas Sabonis who can compete with him as far as passing. His passes are unbelievable. Joel Embiid's positive, he's athletic, he can shoot around the rim. He plays defense, he's a two-way player, and he scores inside. So Nikola Jokic looked as more as the finesse, dominant big, and Joel Embiid is more of the physical dominant big. So for me, I see more negatives on Nikola Jokic's side. Let me also point this out too. Nikola Jokic, I would rather play with Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid, and I'm going to tell you why. Based off of my style of play, like I score the ball, Nikola Jokic is going to get me the ball. He's going to find me. That's why he's with Jamal Murray. They work so well. If you notice, most of the times with Nikola Jokic, he doesn't mind letting other players take the last shot. He doesn't mind giving the ball up to other players and let them rock, which is a great attribute to have. So I would rather play with Nikola Jokic. But as far as what I'm looking at, as far as the eye test, Joel Embiid, if I play with him, I understand that we can win almost every night. It's like Kobe and Shaq. You explained it perfectly. Joel Embiid is a mixture of Shaquille O'Neal and Hakeem Olajuwon. Nikola Jokic is a mixture of Larry Bird and I would say Arvydas Sabonis. So who would you rather have as far as your combination? And I understand a lot of people who don't play ball is not going to understand this, but we understand like you just don't pick up a piece of paper and say, hey, this person's averaging 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. Oh, we're gonna pick him up. No, you got to actually see the person play, like Russell Westbrook and Steph Curry. Russell Westbrook, if you just, like you said, use your method, put them side by side and blacked out the faces, and saw Russell Westbrook average 22 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds, compared to Steph Curry's averaging 28, four assists, and like 6 rebounds. You're gonna go with Russell Westbrook. You're gonna go with the person who's close to the triple double, because that's what the Nikola Jokic fans keep saying. Nikola Jokic is averaging a triple double, PER rating, all that stuff. And another thing, people is points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, turnovers. Those are the stats we're looking at. The advanced stats are for the guys who don't play ball, the stat geeks. You cannot just look at stats. So let me turn it over to you, Rick, and let's see what else you have to say about this discussion about what I said.
Now, I want to touch on the part when you brought up that you would rather play with Jokic. Now, I want to get deeper into this for everybody that's listening. Understand that Philly and Denver are two different teams, meaning what? That they have two different systems. So understand what I mean systems, what the coaches run, what the team itself runs. Philly, the system is Embiid. He is the system. Okay. If Jokic doesn't play, Denver still has a system, right? You could put another big man in Denver's system and they still will be just as efficient. Now, what makes their system so powerful is that Jokic is so skilled within that system. And granted, you could take what I said and run that with Steph Curry. You could take what I said and run that with John Morant, even though he is the system. You could take that and run with different players throughout the league. But here's what I'm really getting at, and I want y'all to visually see this. If you take Embiid away from Philly and swap him out with Joker in Denver, and then you take Joker and put him in Philly, now really ask yourselves, would there be a big difference? Of course there'll be a big difference. I feel like nothing would change as far as individual play. I feel like Embiid will still do what he does. I feel like Jokic will still do what he do. But I think Denver will be a little bit stronger. Why? Because their system itself is efficient. It's just like the Golden State Warriors. When everybody was getting hurt with Golden State, they were still a decent team. Why? Because they run a good system. But then when you put a very skilled and athletic player like a Thompson, like a Curry, when you put players like that, skilled players within the system, it makes the system dramatically better, way better. The system just runs super good. But if they get hurt, like when Curry hurt his wrist, Thompson got injured, the system kept going. They still were winning games. It's just that they weren't at their peak because they didn't have those skilled players in those positions. So when I think about Denver, if you put Joel Embiid in Denver, dude, they'll be up there near the Suns. They'll be up there near the Grizzlies. They'll be up there with those top tier teams because, again, they have a system, but now you have a skilled athletic player that's going to make that system just so much more dominant because you have a piece within the system that you can't do nothing about. Again, Jokic in certain positions, in certain systems, against certain players can be slowed down and I dare say sometimes even stopped, depending on who he's playing against. So again, people, I understand, I get it. I mean, of course, I won't say nothing to the Serbian cats out there who gonna rep for their people. It's just like Dirk in Europe. You know, they'll try to say Dirk is the great. Look, I don't get mad at subjective opinions like that because it's your people. So you're gonna ride with them. I get it. But I'm saying, to be fair to all basketball players across the world, let's keep it real. If you're starting a team, if you're trying to win it all, you know you're going to pick Embiid. I don't care how much. It's just like if you ask me, Rick, are you picking Kobe? Because everybody know I'm a Kobe head. Everybody know I'm a Kobe fan. Everybody know I ride Kobe all day. But if somebody say, Rick, are you picking Kobe or Jordan to start a team? I'm going to gnash my teeth, but I'm going to say Jordan. Even though I'm riding with Kobe all day, I know basketball. I want to win. So I'm going to pick Jordan. Anybody else, I'm going to say Kobe. But if you say Jordan or Kobe, I may put my head down for 5 seconds because I know the truth. I got to go with Jordan. So in the same breath, I got to go with Embiid. Even if I love Jokic, even if I think Jokic is a friendlier guy off the court, if I think he's a better, it don't matter. If I'm trying to win, like these organizations are trying to do to get a title, I'm going to pick the best person to win, and that's Embiid.
Man, so I got quite a few things to say. First off, you brought up winning. Last season, let me talk about the MVP discussion, because Jokic really became more of a relevant piece last year when he won the MVP. The year before that, he had good stats, but he didn't really jump into his own until last year. Let me remind y'all, he didn't play for his first 2 years in Denver. He was a second-round pick. He was a development player, and that's why I respect him so much, because he worked to get where he's at. But let's back to my point. Nikola Jokic got the MVP after Joel Embiid got hurt. Before, in the beginning of the season, Joel Embiid was the front runner of the MVP. You can go back and look at the season. You can see the records with Philly and Denver. Nikola and Joel Embiid, they had the better record, and Joel Embiid was playing the most dominant. But it wasn't until he got hurt, because that's been the narrative on Joel Embiid. And I said this before: if you want to pick Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid because of injury, I completely understand. But as far as them both being healthy, Joel Embiid is the overall better player, because number one, he plays both sides of the ball. Nikola Jokic, I don't care how many people keep saying Nikola Jokic has improved his defense. His defense cannot compare to Joel Embiid's. One guy's a 3-time all-defensive team, the other guy's a 0 all-defensive team. There's no comparison. Just like the passing Nikola Jokic does to Joel Embiid, Joel Embiid's is a good passer, but he's not Nikola Jokic. So that's what I say. But back to my point, Joel Embiid played 52 games last season. Nikola Jokic played 72. That's the reason why they gave the MVP to Nikola Jokic. It wasn't because of pure dominance. It wasn't because Nikola Jokic was better than Joel Embiid. And that's the point I want to make. Person wins the MVP one season, that makes something they're the better player. That does not make you the better player. That means you had a good season. But overall, we have to look at the entirety of their career. And the entirety of their career, Joel Embiid's been consistent, 25-plus point per game, 10-plus rebound per game, 3-plus assists per game. I don't know how many blocks. I want to say about between 1 or 2 blocks a game. He's been consistent every single year since he's been in the league for 5 seasons. Jokic just came into his own within the last 2 years. That's a fact. You can look up stats. You can look up production. Jokic did not become that guy until 2019, 2020 season. But I digress on that. Another reason I picked Joel Embiid is because of matchups. Like you said, Rick, and thanks for bringing that up, bro. Nikola Jokic, I've seen him be nullified. I saw the 2020 NBA playoffs against the Los Angeles Lakers in the bubble, where Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard were physical with him. People want to say they were dirty. People, you don't lose 4-1 and say that it was because they were playing dirty. You got beat. Denver got beat because they were not better than the Lakers. You can sit up there and say that they had 2 7-game series against Denver, or against the Clippers and against Utah, but they were not beating that Laker team. Once I saw the Clippers didn't make it, I knew Denver wasn't going to beat them. They didn't have the matchup or the personnel, nor the experience. So they weren't beating the Lakers. I've seen Nikola Jokic again be stopped against Phoenix last year. His defense was exposed against DeAndre Ayton. They got swept. I saw Nikola Jokic 2 weeks ago or a week ago against the Clippers. Clippers down 25 points. They put Nico Batum on Nikola Jokic, fronting him in the post, and that's how they came back in the second half. So I've seen Nikola Jokic, if you're able to have a person, and I'm not going to say stop him, but you have a person who is just as tall as him and just as athletic as him, there's ways to defend him. A guy like Joel Embiid, who's athletic and strong and skilled, you cannot stop that. You can't. There's no way you can stop it. You can't stop that. You don't have a game plan for that. The one time I can think of Joel Embiid crumbling was in the Raptors series back in 2019, and even then he was still dealing with injuries. But other than that, you have never seen Joel Embiid just say, "Oh, he just got stopped by that person tonight." You never seen that. So that's another reason I gotta pick him. And then again, give me the dominant player over the finesse player. Because again, we have to be honest. We have never said a player is better than another player because of their passing and their vision. Let's be honest. And that's been the knock on Jokic. Jokic is such a great passer. He has such great vision, and he has a high IQ. I love watching him play. I told you I'd rather play with Jokic over Embiid. But let's stop this, man. Everybody knows what we want to see these players do. They want to see them put the ball in the basket. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, all the greats, Dirk Nowitzki, all the scorers. We want to see you put the ball in the basket. Here's the ball. Do what you got to do. We're not looking for you to pass. That's why we get bad at LeBron so much, because he passes the ball in key moments sometimes. We wanted to see how you dominate and score. So give me that player over Nikola Jokic, bro. You got anything else to say?
The last thing I'm gonna bring up, because you brought up a good point. They want to say that Jokic, he's a supreme passer. Okay, let's go with that. And matter of fact, I'm pretty sure this will nullify a lot of arguments, because you can't really argue against this fact if you watched it, which me and BJ has, and if you also study the game like we do. Magic Johnson, 6'9", point guard, LA Lakers. We all know, arguably, is probably the top 3 best passers of all time in NBA history. Matter of fact, a lot of people to this day, even though he played in the 80s and 90s, a lot of people in 2022 still admire and just dream about how that man used to dribble and pass that basketball. And guys, by the way, his name's not Magic. All right, it's Irving. But see, he was so good at passing, it looked magical. That's how he got his name. So you would think his nickname is actually his real name. That's how great he was at passing. My point, though, of bringing him up, did all that passing help him beat Jordan in 91? Matter of fact, Stockton is the #1 passer in stats. Did all that passing help them beat Jordan in 2 finals? Nope. So what BJ is trying to tell you is that even though passing is a part of the game and is very imperative and is very helpful, I just brought up 2 players in NBA history that we cannot argue, and you can make an argument, that are the best passers in the entire league in history. John Stockton and Magic Johnson, whom both played Michael Jordan, which, to BJ's point, we want to see you score the ball. Scoring and defense win games. And you know what Michael Jordan did? And you know what Embiid does? They do both. They're two-way players. So granted, and Jordan could pass the ball. Let's not forget, Jordan was a smooth passer. He just didn't pass it to you if you wasn't doing nothing with it. I done seen Jordan do some behind the back, some no looks. I done seen him do it all. I done seen Kobe do the same thing. Kobe made some phenomenal magic trick passes. But guess what? Those didn't win games. Taking over the game and putting the ball in the bucket is what win games. And I just gave y'all 2 of the most, elite, legendary players who are known for passing couldn't beat a person who puts that ball in the bucket and who plays defense at such a magnificent level. Magic and Stockton could not beat Jordan. Jordan wasn't known for his passing, and Jordan could pass the ball, which brings me to my next point. Embiid can pass the ball too. It's just that that's not within his game plan. That's not within his system. He is the system. They want Embiid to score. But you know what? If the coach said, Embiid, tonight, I want you to do more assisting than scoring, Embiid could do that. He could easily raise his assist stats up. It's just like Will Chamberlain. I can go on all day. Will Chamberlain made a point one season and became the assist champ. And I forgot what year it was. Of course, that's way back in time. But he's known for scoring. So just to prove the league wrong that he could pass the ball, this dude became like the assist champ in that year to show people that he could pass it. But it ain't going to win nothing. So again, assisting, passing is very important, but I'm trying to win. Okay, people, I want to win. And my last point, okay, and this is for all you stat heads out there. Y'all love stats. Okay, here's the career stat of Jokic. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 6.1 assists. Here's Embiid, 25.2, 11.2 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. So guys, again, for the people who love stats, who are you picking? That's how I'm gonna end it, B Jizzle.
And let me double end this right here because a lot of controversy too. Well, Jokic is the Denver Nuggets ain't as good as the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay. They're both missing their two second best players in Ben Simmons and Jamal Murray. If you look at their top guys, Tobias Harris and Aaron Gordon was a leader of his team before he came to Denver. Tobias Harris, even though he's averaging 18 points right now, he came from the Clippers, and I know because I'm a fan of the team. He was an afterthought. They got rid of Tobias Harris. So we're not going to sit here and act like Tobias Harris is just this elite player just to up your argument. Steph Curry and Will Barton, the next tier scorers, they're both averaging 15 points a game. If you look at the Denver roster from Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, those are proven guys. Those are proven guys in the league. They're both averaging 10 plus points in the league. They've been doing this for almost 10 years. And then you got Tyrese Maxey, who's a rookie. He's a nice rookie on the Philadelphia 76ers. You got Danny Green, who's a shell of himself. You got Georges Niang. You got all these other role players. They have role players on both sides. So essentially, it's pretty even. But back to what my boy Rick said, it's all about systems. And Joel Embiid is the dominant player. If you, again, another basketball lesson, if you play with a dominant player who you know and understand when it gets tight, the ball's coming to him, and it don't matter who's guarding him, that puts you at a sense of peace because it's like, well, it ain't going to be on me tonight. It's not going to be on me. It's going to be on him. A guy like Jokic, he can do it, but it has to be against the right person. I saw them play the Clippers the other night, and he was able to, score on Zubac because Zubac is not a great defender on the perimeter. He's a great defender inside, but Jokic understood the game plan was to take him off the dribble and score buckets. But you also know what else? Zubac was taking it to Jokic on the other end. He had 32 points. It was a season high. Now, that just exposes how bad Jokic's defense is. Joel Embiid
And
plays.
Zubac is slow. He's slow.
He's slow as a snail, and he had 32 points on Jokic. That explains how bad his defense is. That great defense y'all be talking about Jokic has or improved on, it didn't happen that night. They played the Sixers the game after. Zubac had nowhere near no 30 points. I don't even think he had 20 points because I watched the game and B was making blocks. He was running the floor and he was taking it to Zubac, Batum, Marcus Morris, no matter who was guarding him, he was taking it to him. So again, and we're going to end it with this. Don't fall in love with your stats and just make that the end all be all. Watch the games and actually see and understand if I had a team and if I wanted to pick the guy who was better, am I going to pick the guy who's skilled and non-athletic, or am I going to pick the guy who's skilled, athletic, and has IQ? They both have IQ. Jokic has more IQ than Embiid, but it's not a big jump.
And dominant. You forgot that. Who's more dominant?
I'm picking Embiid all day. Jokic has no athleticism. His athleticism matches Ben Simmons' jump shot. And athleticism matters in basketball where people act like it don't. Running, jumping, quickness, acceleration, all that matters in the game of basketball. You don't believe me? Ask if Kobe Bryant or Paul Pierce, who would you pick? Because one guy, Kobe Bryant, was skilled, athletic, and dominant. Paul Pierce was just money, skilled, and unathletic. He had some athleticism, but that wasn't part of his game. We all know we're picking Kobe Bryant. Athleticism matters. So we're going to end it there. We hope that we answered the questions for the last time. But Rick, go on with your social media, get up out of here.
Hey, before I give y'all my social media, what BJ is also saying is let's think of Steph Curry if he wasn't athletic. Let's think of Ja Morant if he wasn't athletic. So just think about that. That's what he's trying to say. Think about those players if they weren't athletic. They're skilled, but what if they didn't have the athleticism behind their skills? So, Hey, y'all know who it is. It's your co-host that does it the most, Rick Masters. Again, at Rick Masters 23 or Mr. Lee on Instagram. Rick Masters everywhere else. Again, we got the white tanks. We got the white shirts, the red shirts, the black shirts, the Pull-Up Basketball Podcast shirts, $25 a pop. Hit me or B Jizzle up in our DMs. Let's make a transaction. Back to you, B Jizzle.
My guy, Rick Masters, you know what I'm saying? Hit us on our social media. My Instagram, B Jizzle, BJIZZLE. Hit my co-host at Rick Masters 23. Hit my Facebook, BJ Mathews. All platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Iheartradio. TikTok, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Check us out. You know, the hottest young boys in the game. We're going to keep working for y'all. We're going to keep making y'all proud. Pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull it up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.